Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I bring to you the March edition of my monthly flip through series, the March 2025 edition. I can't believe we're at March already, but I suppose that is the last of quarter one done now of the year. We're moving on to quarter two. It's currently early in April. So I thought I'd get this March flip through finished for you. And it's always a good way to reflect on the month for me and round up my pages. So, I don't think I showed you this page in its entirety, so I suppose we should start here on the last day of February. I had put in these kind of, what do you call that? Spiraling? They're drawn in with fountain pen kind of lines on the page, and then I wrote over them because in February I was thinking about ways that I could kind of obscure writing to make it more interesting or interactive to look back on later. And it's not that this particular bit of information is in any way profound or interesting. It's probably quite mundane, not that I read much of this back. But it would be nice to kind of add a little bit of intrigue to the pages, I think, for future me. And I may never read them, but it is nice to have. And I think I showed you this, but I maybe added a few extra bits in down here, because as we've gathered, my cover pages are quite kind of experimental, and I add to them on multiple days at a time, I think. Yeah, good textures. I like a texture. And these stickers that I made are kind of textured as well, because that's something that I prioritise when I'm making things and putting them in my notebook. I also have a messy desk here today, and I thought rather than tidy it, I thought I'd give you an accurate picture of how messy my desk is. So I hope you don't mind. And I've got some more pages here that I can't quite show you, but I've got some pirate writing on this page, and I was writing about the good life on this page, and I was rewatching that at the start of March, so it's nice to see that and come back to it. If I'm watching something good, then I'll probably write a few sentences about it. But the show is kind of so relevant in some ways now, not in other ways, but in some ways it feels so relevant, and is a nice way to kind of think about things. So I've also, because I've got my pirate pages, I thought I'd ask you a question. I would ask, would you like to see some of my pirate pages, or a video about my pirate pages, or my more kind of niche interest pages? I was wondering if you'd like to see those, because I like the idea of making videos about that sort of stuff, because I am thinking about it a lot during the month, but I don't know, it feels more vulnerable to talk about your greatest interests. And I know the journaling community is nice, but outside the journaling community is a different story. So please let me know if you would be interested in a pirate journaling video, because I could definitely do that. I bring to you the first shareable page of March. I've got kind of a little ink sample here that I got at the start of this month, because I'm trying out some more ink that's less archival, just for fun. Because I really miss the sheening properties of inks. And this one sheens beautifully on Midori paper, not so well on Hobonichi paper. You can see that swatch beneath is like a different ink, but it was nice to have that in here and to experiment with a completely different ink. And I talk about that in my last video as well, because I did an intermittent video this month about supplies and what journaling materials I use, so that was featured in that video. I also got some pocketbooks this month, and I can show you my pocketbook. This is my pocketbook. Here is inside the pocketbook. And I'll show you the first page. I might do a full video about my pocketbooks, but it was something that I did last year, was have a little field notes alongside the Hobonichi cousin, because it's nice to have some pages that are lower stakes and lower space to fill and can hold the more inconsequential things. But it was just nice to bring that back, I think. I was missing a smaller size. So I'll do a video about the pocketbooks, but ink, everything is going on this page. I'm like, what do I talk about? I have some ephemera from my own life, some chocolate ephemera, and some apple stickers of actual apples. And I was writing in this ink on this page. And I thought, rather than, because I still really like the idea of keeping some of my pages archival, not that I care that much about reading them in the future, but the idea that I could flip through all my pages and the ink be gone is quite, you know, upsetting. I think it's a thing of time passing rather than me wanting to read all the important things that I wrote, because that's not necessarily the case. But I thought I'd write some of the more inconsequential things that are just for me now, rather than me later in the non-archival ink. And I also have a heart, which was one of the first things to go in this page. As always, I kind of did this page over a few days and added bits as I came along. But this was from an ephemera pack, and the idea was that I'd have a heart and then all the things around the heart that I was thinking about and that meant something to me, because that's traditionally what hearts are all about. So there you go, imagery. And a poem that I got from, my mum bought me a Faber and Faber poetry diary. I think it's Faber and Faber, which has a poem for every week of the diary. So I found this on one of the either the late February or March pages and thought it was really relevant. So I typed it up on the typewriter and now it's in my book. Next page. I did some planner. I made some planner stickers this month, and part of that I really wanted to get some typewritten things in that, so that people that maybe don't have a typewriter could still have some typewritten things in their book. So that became part of the planner page. And I could show you because I have a new book. Those ones. Decimated sticker sheet, but that's the idea. So that's what that's all about. And then I also have been reading Syllabus by Linda Barry, which was recommended by one of the people in my YouTube comments. So thank you. If that was you, I can't remember your name, but I took that recommendation and ran with it. And now I'm reading Syllabus at the same time as Thinking on Paper. But I've been really enjoying it, and it's great to think of images. I think here I was writing about images as kind of a ghost of the thing that you're referencing, and I just thought that was so interesting, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I wrote about it, as is always the way. And I was talking about my room and how I could make my room more for me, I think. And also, it was a very wanting page, this one. I was talking about all the things that I'd like to do. So I was talking about the birds in the garden, how I'd like to go outside. Like to maybe a nature place. There are none really around here, but and then I get to the Cabinet of Curiosities page. My brain just went, what? This is my page where I did a little cork board. I thought I'd construct a cork board out of craft paper. And this idea came from seeing Bronte's notebook that had craft paper on the cover and then a bunch of stickers on it. and I thought it really looked like a corkboard with all the lovely little images that she had on there. And I couldn't stop thinking about the idea of making a corkboard for my book, so I did. Of course. Nice. And the idea was to have a bunch of things on this page that were kind of intriguing me at the minute, because I'm not really reading, I'm reading books, but I'm reading them really slowly, and I needed something new, some new scenery, I think. So I was talking about kind of a bit of news here about a ship, because I always read the news about ships. I read the news about lots of things, but I read the news about ships, even when it's sad news. And kind of mending things here. I wrote about mending some like items of clothing. And a YouTube video, of course, because it is the 21st century. And I think it's always nice to bring in those digital elements into the analog book, because it makes you more considerate of what you are consuming online, I think. So I wrote about that. And I wrote about memories and the kind of suggestible nature of memories, because like, I don't trust a lot of my memories. So I wrote about that distrust. An unfinished page. I'd planned to share this on Instagram because I thought it was really nice, but I never finished this. So I have a quote from a song. I've been really enjoying just typing up quotes this month, and I was talking about it with Mila, that kind of when you type up a quote, you have to think about the mechanics of it and I suppose the iconicity of it being a song and how that impacts its form and how the message is relayed. So I do feel a bit like I lose some of the original textuality when I type things up or I write things into my book, but you kind of make up for that in the understanding the mechanics of maybe a sentence or something, if that makes any sense to anybody. But yeah, and I wrote wild geese, which I think is a common and popular poem in the journaling community, because it's all about the small joys, and we love a small joy. So I had to have that in my journal this month because I was thinking about it, and kind of I've been thinking about the toss-up between ambition and appreciation of the life that you have now, and that means a lot to me at the minute in my little thinking about things. And I wrote about sleep as well, because I had kind of a few big vivid dreams that I've typed up into the file of hacks now, but it was nice to kind of commemorate that small moment in time, and also the kind of revelation I had at the start of the year, which is that I can't journal in my room because otherwise I will sit and journal rather than sleep. So I have to do that in a separate space, which is somewhere else in the house. And I have a little note from Bronte that I got with some sticker mail, which I always like to save little notes, and it just went so well with the page that it was perfect. But I really enjoyed the colours of this being kind of the dark colours, and then the pinks, purples and greens. I think it worked out really well and is quite springy, so it's always a good thing. And I wrote precious things because these things are all very precious to me. I didn't post this on Instagram, but I kind of regret that because it's a really nice page and it brings me so much joy to see it. But I got this Hannah Bluish illustration sticker this month. I actually went and ordered a second one yesterday because I only bought one at the time, and then they had a sale, so I bought another one because why not? But I thought this was the perfect time to use it because Chapel Roan had a new song coming out, and also I just loved that in the sticker is her Leuchtturm 1917 notebook, which she held and kind of read her speech from at the Grammys. It felt like a little bit of notebook fun. A notebook spotted in the wild. That's what it felt like. I think it's called a vanilla book, which is really funny. But yes, I have some Megan Rhiannon stickers here and some Bronte. They were Bronte plans, but now Dear Whoever bead stickers. And I wrote about my playlist as well, because I kind of knew that I had some events coming up, so I wouldn't necessarily have space to write about my playlist. So I kind of did a little bit. And it's been nice to take that pressure off, because music hasn't felt very front seat in my mind, if that makes sense. It hasn't felt like the most prominent thing that I need to dedicate 2 pages to, like I usually do. So I've just kept it to that small bit. And then there was a journal meetup in London on Sunday the 16th. So I met up with these 3 lovely people who I've met before. There was Jo, Ange and Mila, and we just had a really nice time. Of course, because why wouldn't you at a journal meetup? And there were a few of us this time, but we kind of made the most of it, and it was a good day. So I wrote about the day, and it was just really nice. It's always nice to have other people's kind of penmanship in here as well, and to be reminded of them. So yay. And then I wrote about me starting my little field notes book as well, because I did that this weekend. My unfinished page. I've kind of got a bit of a tradition going of all the unfinished pages. I've got one in February there and one in January, and now I have one in March. But I have 3 pages that I kind of need to go back to, and this is one of them, because I've not finished reading the book, but I really wanted to write out this big long body of text that was in the book syllabus by Linda Barry. So I just kind of bit the bullet and did it. And I thought I'd add these kind of Barry-esque little doodles that I've kind of thought of and did in a kind of Barry-esque colour selection, because I thought that was a good way to commemorate the book. And you can see I've kind of printed out a little bit of another work of Barry, because it felt relevant to the page to kind of get the style of the page. I feel like the graphology, I suppose, of the book means so much to the book, and you can't really divorce the two. So when I got to the reading journal page, I was like, how do I add a bit of that back, if that makes sense? How do I bring it back to its original context a bit? So that's what I did. And if there is a quote that I like, but I wouldn't necessarily future reference or think it's nice, but I don't need to add anything to it, then I probably wouldn't add it to my reading journal pages. I'd just highlight it in the book or make a note of the page number, because I don't need to type out everything that I appreciate about a book, if that makes sense. Like if I've just got thoughts, then maybe I'll do it, but otherwise there is not necessarily the need. And I'm kind of towing the line between gaining an active reading experience by journaling about things afterwards and not feeling like I had to journal about every single thing, because I don't want to read books in a passive way, but that also means the books take way longer and are really time consuming. But them's the ways. It's finding that balance, and I'm getting better at it. And here we have some more kind of garden notes, I think, at the top here. And then I saw a cat fight in the garden and my cat was involved, so I wrote about it. And they weren't fighting, they were just kind of spitting at each other, and it was really funny to watch. And yeah, I've kind of taken some Polaroids as well. of the cat, and then the other cat that she fought with. We have some Polaroids because my sister very kindly let me use her Polaroid printer, and I'd bought this kind of contact sheet-esque film, so I wanted to use it, and that's what I did. And I have one of the planners in the journal meetup, so I need to find a place for this because I just think that's beautiful. Joe took that picture. Well done, Joe. It's a really good picture. So, and I have some paper that I got from Mila at the end of the month that I kind of typed a little message on that I thought was important in the wake of February and March, because yeah, historically not been the best months, so it was nice to kind of have an okay month at this time. Finally. And I wrote about my dissertation getting published, because it did, and that was really important to me. And you never know when you release these things what kind of impact they're going to have or what is going to come of them. But that was something that I wrote last year and then has come back this month to, not to bite me, but to remind me of that thing that I did and celebrate it. Because I'm really proud of that piece of work, and it turns out someone else is proud that I wrote it as well because they want to publish it for the uni. So, nice. And I have some kind of lyrics as well. I've got Crown by Billy Martin, a song I'm still thinking about 5 months after it's been released. So I wanted to have it in this book. I'd had it in my previous book, and then I typed out a whole Fiona Apple album title, which is like 90 words long for an album title, because I saw a video of her reading it out and I thought the video was so powerful that I kind of wanted to save a little bit of that for the book, which is always how things work. And I did type it up twice, and I wasn't very pleased with how the other one turned out, so I kind of stuck it in here. And you can do that sort of stuff, and it's nice to have through lines between these two books and kind of make them one part of a whole system. And that's kind of where I've gone wrong with having more than one book at a time in the past, is that I've not thought about them as connected in any way. And that can kind of make things more difficult for me to be emotionally invested in more than one book. You've got to kind of connect the two. So that's been nice. More The Notebook, A History of Thinking on Paper notes, because I'm still thinking about it and still making my way through it very slowly. I am on a trudge, a slow trudge, to get through all of the dense information, because it's not just that the information is dense, it's that it's written in such a sentimental and lovely way. And I'm also sentimental about the topic, so I feel like there's so much emotion involved in what should just be like such a small historical book. But to me it means something, which is always the way when you read a kind of non-fiction book about one of your interests, is that it means so much more than it would to someone just stumbling upon the topic. So I thought I'll keep commemorating that in my 4th page. I think I've read just over 200 pages and I've got at least 8 pages dedicated to it. And I had more kind of thoughts than I do quotes again. So I've just been writing the thoughts and the basic information that I've kind of gleaned from the text, and then wrote the important quotes in the margin. That's the way I've been doing these reading journal pages. And I really liked this month because I carved some new lino stamps, which I haven't done for a while. And it's one of my favourite things to do just when I want to do something with my hands, because it's very mindless once you've kind of traced the thing and transferred it onto the lino block, is that you don't have to think about the design really, you just have to care about making things neat. And it's a really nice kind of mechanical activity. So I enjoy it. And I made these two. My ink was fading, but I got a new ink thing. And I used an ink that I haven't used yet, so that was nice. Another little spiral in a body of text to kind of obscure it. But these are all the definitions of stuff that I got from thinking on paper this time round. And then I have some writing about Jack Vetriano, who died this month, and we'd kind of watched some BBC documentaries about him that were aired because of his death. So it was really nice to kind of see what he was like, and I think one of them was a day in his studio or something, and I just found it fascinating. So I recommend. There's some controversy behind his images and who considers them art and what galleries he's accepted to. And I just, yeah, that's the sort of thing that I really care about and sparks some kind of inner discourse for me, so I have to write about it. And it was just really nice to look at his life and the pictures. Some of his pictures I really like, and then some of them make me a bit uncomfortable, and you kind of are forced to go and think about what makes them uncomfortable, I guess. So I've been doing that. And morning pages. I've been slacking on morning pages, and I wrote about it here, but I'm just so... When I wake up and I've got nothing to write, I'm just so glad that I've woken up with no thoughts, that I couldn't think to force myself through 3 pages of writing in the morning. Mostly because it was taking me an hour to get through 3 pages of A5 writing. That's the one thing about morning pages, is that kind of it isn't specified how many lines you do or how much constitutes a page. Just the quantity of 3 pages is mentioned. So maybe I've been writing way too much anyway. But I just love those days when my brain is quiet, that I don't want to force myself through all those pages of writing if I don't have to, you know. Sometimes it can be quite a struggle to get the writing that's in your head out on the page, and I've been kind of reckoning with that kind of feeling of labour when I'm writing out what I've got in my head that I can't keep in my head. That when there is nothing in my head, I quite enjoy it. So that's what I wrote about there. Be nice if I could remember what was going on these pages, wouldn't it? I can show you this one because I had another really nice day at the end of the month here. I had a few nice days, and I met up with Chloe for the first time of Chloella Journals, I think is her Instagram, and Alex of ATC Journals, who I've met before and kind of met again at this kind of more regional journal meetup. And that was just so nice. We had such a good day, and we went and did blind boxes. My first ever blind box thing. I was so excited. I didn't realise how much it was just like being a kid when you get a blind box. It reminds me of collecting like Moshi Monsters, which is what I did. That was my contemporary kind of blind box of choice. But it comes with such a lovely little card that it's just perfect for journalists. They really got their target audience. They know us, but it was just nice to kind of get one that I liked, because I like the look of a lot of these things, but I wouldn't necessarily want them, if that makes sense. It's like that Moomin quote about appreciating something but not having to take it home in your bag. You can take it home in your head, which is always what I try to do when I buy things, but that was nice just to get something a little bit frivolous, and it reminds me of the day. So it's a little souvenir, and it will live on my bookcase. So that's where that's going to go. But I have the card in here. And I also have some mail from Patricia, who I think is now Patricia Journals on Instagram. But she sent me some lovely mail this month, and I would lift this up, but I've got like a location in here somewhere, so I'm really conscious of not lifting that up. But she kind of stamps some stamps out for me. So I put half of the page in here, and I kind of got this label in there as well, and this gorgeous vinyl sticker of a fountain pen. It was really nice to get, and Happy Mail is something that always lifts my spirits, so it's nice when kind of someone says, I've got some things for you, and I've replied now. I love getting mail and I love replying to mail, so it was really nice. And some new stickers, some Kita stickers and some Ars Studio, I think they're wax pastels, which is what I do, kind of oil pastel stuff, so it's really nice to have someone else's kind of oil pastel stuff and the kind of visual textures of them in my book. So it's nice. I will always take visual and kind of tactile textures. And I have a page here. This page is for the residents, which I have to tell you about. This is crucial information, journaling people. You have to watch the residents because it's just so obviously done by a notebook person. Someone with a notebook was working on that film, because the notebook features so heavily in, I think it's episode 4, and it kind of fizzles out towards the end and doesn't come back for much, but it's about the White House, and kind of, it's a fictional kind of Knives Out inspired story basically, but the detective is a birder, so she kind of bird watches while she's doing it and kind of links that into her work and kind of infodumps about the birds while she's on her job. But also she keeps a notebook, and it's a traveller's notebook. In the first episode it was the most blank standard size traveller's notebook ever, but in episode 4 she's got this custom made Midori style notebook with traveller's notebook inserts in it, and it has kind of a card slot at the start, and the business cards that she keeps become such a pivotal point of that episode, and it was just so good. I was watching this like, oh my god, it's a notebook thing. But I'm sure you'll understand if you're a notebook person and you also care about seeing notebooks in media, but this was so important. And so I've dedicated a page to it. I'm going to print some images out. Hopefully I can get one of her notebook, but we shall see. So that's what I have to do. I'm going to write in the font of the font that's used in the title cards of each episode is really nice and kind of stylistic. So I want to write that because it's quite distinct, and I think it would make a good kind of memory page for that piece of media. I just can't not write about it, and there were quotes along the way that I was writing down in my notes app while we were watching, because it felt so important. So I have a whole page dedicated to that. It's like one of my favourite things that I've seen this year so far. So I thought I'd mention it and say, please go and watch The Residents. It's on Netflix, I think. But if you're a notebook person, you will very much enjoy episode 4 at least. And it's kind of Knives Out, and that's very my thing. So they make a Benoit Blanc joke in it, which I don't think it is associated with Knives Out, or maybe it was the same people making it, but that was just so funny that they kind of recognised that. Next page. We're nearing the end. We're in April now, but I have some side quests that I'd quite like to get to here on my April cover page, which I used kind of a note card for, and a picture from the kind of Instax Polaroids that I got. This is of York Minster, which I just think is a beautiful picture. And I did kind of try and make it a spring thing, but it didn't turn out very springy. I do like when I can acknowledge that the month has happened, or the season or a special occasion has happened in my notebooks. I find that I struggle with special occasions that I can't acknowledge in some way and acknowledge that that time has passed. So I do try and take small chances to kind of acknowledge a season and what's going on in the garden and all of that. So that's what I do. But I saw Mila at the end of the month, and that was such a good way to round up the month and see a friend, and we just sat with our journals, which is what we always do, but it was such a good day. And I wrote about routines and kind of executive function in this portion and what I can do to make things easier, because that's something I'm thinking about now. But yes, that has been my pages. I hope you've enjoyed this monthly flip through. These are the videos that I really enjoy making and kind of rounding up all that I'm thinking about during the month and all that. So I hope you've enjoyed. It's been really fun to kind of talk to you about this stuff, and I hope you would enjoy seeing them in the future, because I'm tempted to make them every month. So there should be one every month for the month that's just passed, if that makes sense. That is absolutely what I'd like to do. And I think these videos are the things that I'm most likely to look back on after I've finished them, which is always nice. Alrighty. I hope that whatever you've been doing while you've been watching this has been good, and I hope you have a good day.